My beloved child, come close for a moment and breathe with me. Let the noise fade. Let the weight loosen its grip, and let your heart soften in this quiet space I've prepared for you. You have carried more than you admit, and you have searched for relief in places that could not hold you. But here, in this stillness, I draw you gently toward the deep calm that has always waited beneath the surface of your days. I invite you now into a pause that is not empty, but full of presence, full of renewal, full of a river that has never stopped flowing toward you. You do not need to strive for it. You do not need to earn it. You only need to come as you are, thirsty and honest, willing to feel the truth of what your heart has longed for. Let this moment open like dawn inside your chest. Let it reveal a softness you thought you had lost. Let it whisper to you that you are not alone, and that the dryness within you is not a final state. You have arrived at a threshold of replenishment. Step gently into it, precious one. Let your thirst end. My child, hear me closely now, for this is the moment I have waited to speak into with a clarity that reaches deeper than your thoughts. Let your thirst end. These words are not merely an invitation. They are the turning of a page, the beginning of a new chapter in the quiet landscape of your soul. I speak them because I see how long you have wandered with an ache that refused to quiet, even when you tried to silence it. I speak them because the dryness within you has become heavier than you know, and because I am opening a river you have needed for far too long. You have reached for many things, searching for something that would finally quench the places that burn inside you. You have tried to be strong. You have tried to stay busy. You have tried to outrun the emptiness. But emptiness does not chase you to harm you. My beloved, it rises only to show you what you were never meant to carry alone. And in this moment, when you hear me say, "Let your thirst end," I am not correcting you. I am bringing you home. This message arrives now because your heart has reached a point of readiness, even if you cannot see it. The ache has softened into honesty. The fatigue has awakened a willingness. The longing has become a doorway, not a wound. And I step through the doorway with a tenderness that wraps around the very places you thought no one understood. For I have watched you try to be enough for everyone, even when the well within you felt dry. I have seen you pour yourself out while receiving so little in return. I have felt every tremor of your hidden exhaustion. I know the desert you've walked. And so I come to you now with this simple yet powerful refrain. Let your thirst end. Let it end not because you have found strength, but because you have finally found me here, waiting in the quiet spaces you rarely pause long enough to enter. Let it end because the river I open before you does not run out. Let it end because you were never meant to live parched, drained, or inwardly collapsing. There is a sacred urgency in this moment, not of fear, but of timing, because what you choose to hear now will shape the path ahead. When thirst stretches too long, the heart begins to forget what fullness feels like. But I have not forgotten, and I will restore to you what dryness tried to steal. My child, I speak this message now because your life is entering a shift, even if it feels small, even if it feels uncertain. There is a subtle unraveling happening within you, old patterns loosening, old expectations dissolving, old pressures cracking and falling away. You may think you are breaking down, but you are breaking open. And into that opening I pour this word. Let your thirst end. You are not late. You are not behind. You are arriving. Breathe that truth in. Let it become the first drop on your tongue from the river that now begins to flow. And hear me clearly, this river is not made of circumstances, achievements, or the approval of others. It is made of presence. It is made of the quiet steadiness of being held. It is made of the peace that radiates from within when you stop running for just a moment and let yourself be found. The timing of this message is perfect because you are standing at a threshold where the old way of surviving can no longer sustain you. You feel it. You know it. And instead of letting you collapse under the weight of your own trying, I speak a new way forward. Rest. Receive. Drink deeply. Let your thirst in. You may wonder if such words are too simple for the complexity of your life, but simplicity is the doorway to miracles. You have waited for something complicated to fix what is fractured, yet I offer you something gentle. You have anticipated something dramatic to change your situation, yet I offer you something quiet. For transformation begins not in force, but in surrender. Not in effort, but in alignment. Let this message settle into you slowly, like water soaking into dry ground. Let the refrain echo until it begins to soften the corners of your spirit. Let it remind you that you do not need to keep running toward sources that drain you more than they nourish you. I am here, my beloved. I am near, and I am whispering the words your soul has waited for. Let your thirst end. My beloved child, come gently into this next moment, for here I want you to feel the truth that has followed you quietly through every season. I have seen you. Fully, deeply, tenderly. There has never been a step you took, a tear you hid, a question you buried, or a fear you silenced that slipped past my awareness. You have walked through many days feeling unseen, unheard, or overlooked, and yet my gaze has rested on you with unwavering attention. I have watched the chapters you never spoke aloud, and I have carried the weight of the things you tried to handle alone. Let your heart relax here. You are known more intricately than you have ever dared to imagine. There were nights when your thoughts spiraled so loudly that sleep could not find you, and I sat beside that restlessness, not in judgment, but in compassion. I felt the strain behind your forced smiles, the exhaustion beneath your responsibilities, the quiet ache behind your determination to appear strong. My child, I know the difference between your real strength and the armor you put on to survive. And I honor the courage it took to keep moving, even when your inner world felt stretched thin and fray. You have wondered at times if your efforts mattered, if anyone noticed how much you try, how deeply you care, how hard you fight to keep going. Hear me now. I notice. I always notice. Not one moment of your endurance has been wasted. Not one act of kindness slipped past me. Not one sacrifice went unseen. Even the times when you believed you were failing, I saw the love underneath your attempts, the sincerity in your intentions, the quiet beauty in your persistence. There have been seasons when loneliness pressed against you like a cold wind, and you questioned whether anyone could truly understand you. But I understood. I saw the layers beneath your silence, the longings you did not know how to articulate, the way you reached for connection, even when hurt taught you to withdraw. You felt invisible, yet I held you close. You felt misunderstood, yet I recognized every nuance of your heart. You felt forgotten, yet I remembered every detail of who you are. Precious one, nothing in you is hidden from me. Not the parts you celebrate, not the parts you regret, not the parts you fear others would reject. I see the strength that shines even when you doubt yourself. I see the tenderness you try to protect. I see the hope that flickers even when disappointment tries to smother it. And I see the thirst, the deep, ancient thirst that has followed you through your entire journey. This thirst is not a flaw. It is the compass of your soul pointing toward what is real. It is the echo of the connection you were created for. It is the signal that you were never meant to live disconnected, drained, or running on empty. And I have watched how this thirst has shaped you, how it has pulled you toward growth, toward longing, toward searching for meaning beyond what could be seen. I know the moments when you reached for comfort in places that left you emptier. I know the silent disappointments that settled into your chest when people you trusted could not carry what you hoped they would. I know the battles you fought behind closed doors, the ones that left you trembling, the ones that taught you resilience, the ones that made you question if you were enough. And I want you to hear me with clarity. You were never alone in any of it. Some of your deepest wounds were formed not by the pain itself, but by believing that no one noticed your breaking. But I noticed. I felt every fracture, every crack, every hidden wave of sorrow. And through it all, I never looked away. You have never had to earn my attention. You have never needed to perform for my acceptance. Your heart has always been fully visible to me, even in its most fragile states. My beloved child, I know you. I know the dreams you whisper only in the quietest hours. I know the doubts that sneak into your mind when you think no one would understand. I know the fears that hold you back, not because you lack strength, but because you've been wounded in the places where you once trusted deeply. I know the resilience you've built, the walls you've raised, the softness you've protected, because the world did not always treat it gently. And yet, even in your guardedness, I see the purity of your desire. You simply want to be held in a way that brings rest. You want to be seen without having to explain yourself. You want to feel safe enough to exhale. You want to stop pretending you're fine when you're crumbling inside. And I say to you now, in a voice filled with tenderness, you do not have to pretend with me. Let your guard lower slowly, like petals opening to light. Let the truth sink into your spirit. You are fully known, fully understood, fully embraced, without condition and without striving. And because I see you, truly see you, I also see the thirst that has shaped so many of your choices, your fears, your hopes. I see the places where you've been dry for too long. I see the longing you tried to silence because you believed it made you weak. But longing is not weakness, my child. Longing is the soul remembering what it was made for. So hear me gently. You are not unseen. You are not forgotten. You are not lost in the noise of the world. You are known completely, intimately, eternally. And because I know you, I also know this. It is time for the thirst within you to be met with rivers, not drops. It is time for the dryness to break. It is time to let your thirst end. My beloved child, come with me now to the quiet edge of this turning point, for this is where the path beneath your feet begins to shift in ways your heart has longed for but could not yet name. You are standing in a place between what has been and what can be, between the familiar weight you have carried and the gentler way I am opening before you. This is the threshold moment. Subtle, sacred, alive with possibility, and I want you to feel its significance with every breath you take. You have walked through many seasons that felt like endless circles, repeating patterns you hoped would break, hoping for clarity that remained just out of reach. But the circles are loosening. The patterns are weakening. The fog is thinning. Something inside you, small but persistent, has begun to awaken, whispering that there must be more, calling you toward a deeper alignment, urging you to stop settling for dryness when rivers are being offered. This whisper is not a coincidence. It is not random. It is the sign that your heart is ready for change, even if your mind is still catching up. My child, there comes a time in every soul's journey when the old way no longer fits. Not because you have failed, but because you have grown. Not because you are breaking down, but because you are breaking open. And this moment, this precise moment in your life, is such a time. You are sensing it in the quiet tension beneath your thoughts, in the subtle dissatisfaction with what once felt enough, in the restlessness that has visited you at unexpected hours. These are not symptoms of defeat. They are indicators of transition. You are beginning to see with a clarity you didn't have before. You are beginning to feel truths rising from within instead of searching for validation outside yourself. You are noticing where your spirit resists environments that drain you. You are recognizing where your heart no longer belongs. You are awakening to the realization that you cannot keep living thirsty, not when something within you knows that water exists. This is the threshold moment. A moment when you do not need to force anything, but you cannot avoid acknowledging what is shifting. A moment when you do not need to make dramatic changes, but you cannot pretend the old ways satisfy you. A moment where honesty becomes liberation. A moment where your awareness becomes the doorway to transformation. You stand at this threshold not because you are strong or perfect, but because you are willing. Even if you do not feel ready, you are willing. Even if you are afraid, you are willing. Even if you feel uncertain, you are willing. And willingness, my precious one, is the key that turns the lock of change. Feel this moment with me. Feel how your heart trembles, not from fear but from recognition. Feel the pull of something kinder, deeper, more aligned with who you truly are. Feel the invitation to step out of dryness and into nourishment. The threshold is not about pressure. It is about possibility. It is about choosing clarity over confusion, connection over emptiness, peace over strain. It is about allowing yourself to open to the river I have already prepared for you. But I will not push you across this threshold. That is not my way. I do not force transformation. I invite it. I extend my hand with patience, knowing that when your heart senses the moment is right, you will take a step that is both gentle and powerful. You will step into water that cools your spirit. You will step into rest that eases your breathing. You will step into alignment that feels like remembering instead of striving. And even now, you may feel the tug of war within you. Part of you longs for more peace, more clarity, more meaning. Another part of you clings to the familiar, even if the familiar leaves you thirsty. This inner tension is not a sign of weakness. It is simply the sound of your soul awakening. It is the echo of your deeper self calling you toward what is true. It is the soul recognizing that dryness is no longer an option. My child, hear me. You are not being asked to leap. You are only being asked to notice. Notice what feels heavy. Notice what feels misaligned. Notice what drains you without giving life in return. Notice what no longer resonates with who you are becoming. Notice the gentle stirring within you that is guiding you toward a healthier, more grounded way of being. This awareness is the doorway. This moment is the threshold. The river waits on the other side. But understand this, thresholds are sacred because they present a choice. You can drift back into the dryness of old patterns, or you can step forward into the clarity that is calling your name. Drifting happens when you silence your heart. Clarity comes when you honor it. Drifting leads to more thirst. Clarity leads to replenishment. And so I whisper to you now, stay awake, stay honest, stay willing. This is the moment where your next chapter begins, not with dramatic change, but with a quiet, courageous yes inside your spirit. A yes to truth, a yes to wholeness, a yes to the river I am offering. You are not standing here by accident. You arrived here because your journey has prepared you, softened you, strengthened you, and opened you to receive what you once could not. So feel my presence beside you. Feel my hand extended toward you. Feel the river already stirring at your feet. This is the threshold moment. And when you are ready, you will step. And when you step, the thirst that has followed you for so long will finally begin to break. My beloved child, before you step fully into the river that waits for you, I want to gently reveal the barriers that have stood between you and the fullness your heart longs for. These barriers are not your identity. They are not failures. They are not signs that something is wrong with you. They are simply the remnants of old seasons, old wounds, old stories that attached themselves to you as you walked through life. And now, as you approach the waters of renewal, it is time to recognize them, not with shame, but with clarity. For clarity is what loosens the grip of what once felt immovable. Clarity is what brings light to the corners you have not known how to name. Clarity is what frees you to step forward without dragging old shadows behind you. So come close, my child, and let me speak gently about the things that have weighed against your spirit. There is the barrier of doubt. Not doubt of me, but doubt of yourself. You have questioned whether you are worthy of rest, worthy of peace, worthy of being replenished. You have wondered if you are allowed to stop surviving long enough to feel nourished. You have questioned whether the thirst inside you is legitimate, or if you simply expect too much out of life. My beloved, these doubts were born not from truth, but from exhaustion. When you have carried burdens too heavy for too long, doubt becomes a voice that tries to protect you, convincing you that yearning is dangerous because yearning requires hope, and hope has disappointed you before. But hear me, your thirst is not too much. Wanting peace is not too much. Wanting clarity is not too much. Wanting rest is not too much. You were made to desire these things because they were meant to be your natural environment. Doubt has only distorted your view, but it has not changed your essence. Then, there is the barrier of fear. Fear of change. Fear of disappointment. Fear of stepping toward what you need only to find it slip away again. Fear of being open only to be wounded in the tender places of your heart. I understand this fear, my child. You have experienced letdowns that shook your trust in your own intuition. You have reached for things that crumbled in your hands. You have invested yourself in people, places, and hopes that were not able to hold the weight of your sincerity. Fear has formed around those experiences, whispering that it is safer to remain thirsty than to risk reaching for water that might not be real. But I tell you now with tenderness, the water I offer does not disappear. The peace I extend does not vanish. The river I open before you is not fragile. Fear has protected you in the past, but it cannot guide you into the place where your spirit becomes whole. There is also the barrier of hesitation. This hesitation comes from the patterns you have lived in for so long that they feel familiar, even when they are painful. You have grown accustomed to holding everything together, to managing on your own, to living with a quiet ache you call normal. You hesitate not because you lack courage, but because transformation requires letting go of habits that once helped you survive. You hesitate because stepping into something new requires trusting that there is more for you than strain. My child, I do not rush you. I do not push you, but I illuminate what holds you still so you can choose freedom without fear. There is the barrier of confusion. The part of you that wonders what is real, what is right, what is next. The part of you that feels pulled in different directions, unable to discern whether you are moving forward or simply spinning. Confusion is not your enemy. It is simply the voice of fatigue. When the soul is tired, everything becomes hazy. You have been overwhelmed for so long that clarity feels foreign, and confusion has become the default. But let me tell you gently, confusion dissolves the moment you return to alignment with what nourishes your spirit. It cannot survive in the presence of peace. And then there are the external influences. People who drained you without meaning to. Expectations placed on you by others. Responsibilities you took on because you didn't want to disappoint anyone. Voices that shaped your decisions, even when they did not reflect your true self. You have carried the weight of too many worlds at once. You have been strong for others, even when you needed someone to be strong for you. You have given more of yourself than you had to spare. These influences have left marks on you, not because you are weak, but because you are sensitive in the most beautiful way. Your heart absorbs deeply, but the time has come to release the burdens that do not belong to you. And through all these barriers, doubt, fear, hesitation, confusion, and outside pressures, you may have begun to believe that something was wrong with you. But there is nothing wrong with you, my child. These are simply the shadows cast by life that has demanded too much of your spirit. You are not defined by your barriers. You are defined by your capacity to rise beyond them. So hear me with clarity. You are not your doubt. You are not your fear. You are not your hesitation. You are not your confusion. You are not the expectations placed upon you. You are the one who stands now at the edge of a river that can wash these things from your shoulders. You are the one who has survived long enough to reach this moment of awakening. You are the one who is ready, perhaps for the first time, to let your thirst end. My beloved child, now that the barriers have been named and the shadows have been acknowledged, I want to draw you gently into the light of what stands on the other side of your surrender. This is where the promise unfolds, not as a reward for effort, not as compensation for suffering, not as a transaction to be earned, but as a natural expression of what happens when you allow yourself to be held. The promise I speak of is not an external outcome. It is an internal restoration. It is the river that flows when you stop resisting the flow. It is the calm that rises when you stop fighting battles that were never meant to be fought alone. Let me show you this promise with the tenderness it deserves. My child, the promise begins with peace, the kind of peace that does not depend on your circumstances, your productivity, or your performance. This peace is not fragile. It does not shatter when someone fails you. It does not vanish when life becomes unpredictable. It is a peace that settles deep into your bones, steady and warm, like a lantern glowing within you. It reminds you that you are safe, you are held, and you are guided. This peace quiets the noise that has lived inside your chest for so long. It softens the tightness around your heart. It loosens the pressure that has sat on your shoulders. It steadies your voice. It clarifies your thoughts. It creates space within you where heaviness once lived. And from this space, you begin to breathe differently, not shallow breaths of survival, but full breaths of belonging. The promise also reveals itself as healing, not the sudden disappearance of every wound, but the gentle mending of the places that once felt unreachable. Healing comes as the slow release of memories that hurt less than they used to. It comes as forgiveness toward yourself for times when you didn't know better. It comes as the restoration of emotions that were numbed for protection. It comes as the soft reopening of tenderness you once closed out of fear. You have carried hurts that shaped your posture toward life, my child. You learned to brace yourself for disappointment. You learned to expect shortages where fullness should have been. You learned to keep your heart guarded even when it longed to open. But healing removes the pressure to brace. It allows you to walk without flinching. It lets your heart open without fear of collapse. This is the promise unfolding, not through force, but through gentleness. Then there is clarity, the kind that comes not from overthinking, but from alignment. Clarity rises when your spirit is no longer clouded by thirst. When your inner world settles, decisions become lighter. You recognize what belongs to you and what does not. You stop reaching for things that drain you. You stop settling for relationships that dull your spirit. You stop chasing validation that never fills you. Clarity whispers to you with a confidence you didn't know you possess. It guides you through uncertainty without panic. It reveals opportunities you once overlooked. It gives you permission to choose yourself, to honor your needs, to listen to your intuition without guilt. And as clarity strengthens, something surprising happens. The world inside you becomes larger than the world outside you. You no longer get lost in external noise because your inner compass becomes steady and bright. Another dimension of the promise is restoration, the return of what dryness once stole from you. Restoration is not about going backward. It is about recovering the parts of you that were misplaced along the way. It is the renewal of your joy, the rekindling of your creativity, the awakening of hope that once lay dormant. It is the return of your sense of possibility, your sense of worthiness, your sense of being guided. Restoration shows itself in the way your heart grows softer instead of harder. It reveals itself in your ability to trust again, not blindly, but wisely. It manifests in the return of energy you thought you had lost forever. It appears in the whispered excitement about your future, even when you don't know every detail. This is the quiet miracle of restoration. It doesn't shout, it blooms. And finally, the promise reveals forward movement. Not rushed, not pressured, not frantic, but steady, organic, aligned. You begin to move not out of fear, but out of inspiration. Not out of desperation, but out of peace. You take steps because your spirit feels supported, not because you feel forced. You grow because it feels natural, not because it feels necessary. You step into new experiences with curiosity instead of dread. Forward movement is not about doing more. It is about doing what is right for your soul. It is about walking paths that nourish you. It is about following the gentle pull of what brings meaning to your days. It is about no longer shrinking to make others comfortable. It is about living with a sense of inner rhythm that keeps you grounded even when the world around you shifts. This is the promise, my child. Not a promise of ease, but a promise of companionship. Not a promise of perfection, but a promise of presence. Not a promise of a life without struggle, but a promise that you will never walk through struggle empty. The river of provision I open within you is not a single moment. It is an ongoing flow of peace, healing, clarity, restoration, and forward movement. It begins when you stop resisting your own need for nourishment. It deepens when you allow yourself to be held. It expands when you trust that you do not need to remain thirsty. So hear me softly, yet clearly. The promise is already unfolding. The river is already flowing. And you, my beloved, are ready to receive it. My beloved child, come into this tender place with me, for here is where the deepest shift begins. This is the moment of surrender, not the kind that strips you, but the kind that frees you. Not the kind that demands sacrifice, but the kind that releases burdens. Not the kind that weakens you, but the kind that strengthens you from the inside out. Surrender is not about giving up. It is about laying down what was never meant to be carried alone. It is about allowing what is heavy to finally fall from your hands. I invite you now into a sacred exchange, a gentle offering of what has weighed you down in return for what has always been meant to lift you. You do not need to perform. You do not need to impress. You do not need to understand every detail. All that is asked of you in this moment is honesty. Honesty with yourself about what hurts, what exhausts you, what limits you, what you have outgrown, and what has quietly shaped your thirsts. So come, my child. Bring your weariness. Bring the parts of you that have been holding on by a thread. Bring the thoughts you cannot quiet. Bring the emotions you tuck away. Bring the disappointments you pretend no longer affect you. Bring the guilt from decisions you made when you didn't know any better. Bring the anxiety that sits in your chest like a stone. Lay them before me, not as failures, but as evidence of how hard you have been trying. You have carried so much for so long that your spirit has forgotten what it feels like to rest fully. But rest begins here, in the surrender of what has drained you. Surrender is not weakness. It is openness. It is trust. It is the softening of your grip on what harms you so that you can receive what heals you. And so, in this sacred exchange, as you release your burdens, let me show you what I place in your hands instead. When you release stress, I give you ease, not the shallow ease of escaping responsibility, but the deep ease that comes from knowing you are supported. Ease that loosens the knot in your stomach. Ease that lets you breathe without anticipating crisis. Ease that allows you to exist without bracing for impact. Ease that tells your nervous system, you are safe now. When you release guilt, I give you gentleness. Gentleness toward yourself. Gentleness toward your past. Gentleness toward the choices you made while simply trying to survive. You have been harsher with yourself than you would ever be with another soul. You have held yourself to standards no human could maintain. But gentleness washes over the sharp edges inside you, reminding you that compassion is not a reward, it is a necessity. When you release anxiety, I give you grounding, the sense of being anchored even as life shifts around you. Grounding that steadies your thoughts. Grounding that strengthens your intuition. Grounding that assures you that you can move through your days without feeling like you're unraveling. This grounding is not given to replace control. It is given to replace fear. When you release shame, I give you dignity, a renewed sense of value, a reclaimed sense of worth. Shame has whispered to you that something is wrong with who you are, but dignity stands tall within you and reminds you that your essence has always been radiant. Shame withers in the presence of truth, and the truth is that you are worthy of love, rest, and wholeness simply because you exist. When you release the pressure to be everything for everyone, I give you balance. Balance that protects your energy. Balance that honors your limits. Balance that helps you say no without fear. Balance that lets you prioritize what nourishes your soul instead of what drains it. My child, this sacred exchange is not symbolic, it is transformative. It reshapes your inner world. It renews your emotional landscape. It rewrites the quiet scripts you've lived by for years. For so long you believed you had to carry everything yourself, but you were never meant to be self-contained. You were made for connection, for replenishment, for alignment with something greater than your own effort. In surrender, you do not lose control. You gain clarity. In surrender, you do not become weak. You become available to healing. In surrender, you do not disappear. You finally come fully into yourself. There is a river inside you waiting to flow freely, and surrender breaks the dam. Every burden you release becomes a stone lifted from your spirit, allowing the water within you to move again. You begin to feel life flowing in places that felt numb. You begin to feel hope awakening in places that felt silent. You begin to feel strength rising in places that felt empty. My beloved, let this truth settle deep within you. Surrender is not the end of your power. It is the beginning of your peace. And in this peace, you discover who you truly are without the weight of survival pressing upon you. Let the sacred exchange soak into your soul. Let the heaviness fall. Let your hands open. Let the river move. And as the flow begins, hear this whisper in the deepest part of your being. You are safe to let go. You are safe to receive. You are safe to be held. My beloved child, now that the river within you has begun to move, I want to guide you gently into the way this renewal becomes part of your daily life. For what is happening inside your spirit is not meant to remain only a moment of comfort. It is meant to become a way of living, a rhythm, a steady flow that shapes your choices, your pace, your relationships, and the way you carry your own heart. Transformation is not sustained by intensity. It is sustained by alignment. And alignment is built one quiet, intentional day at a time. So come, precious one, let me show you how to walk with the peace you've begun to receive. Let me show you how to keep your spirit nourished, so you never have to return to the dryness that once defined your days. The first alignment begins with how you enter your mornings. Before you reach for obligations, voices, or expectations, pause and breathe. Let your spirit settle before your day begins moving. You do not need long rituals or perfect routines, only a moment of presence. A moment to remind yourself, the river is here. I am not alone. I'm allowed to begin gently. This single pause each morning becomes a doorway through which peace enters the rest of your day. Another alignment unfolds in how you manage your energy. You have lived many years believing that your worth is tied to how much you do, how much you give, how much you produce, how much you hold together. But you are stepping now into a season where your energy matters more than your output. When something drains you consistently, pay attention. When something brings you calm or joy, pay attention. These are signals, not luxuries, not coincidences. Signals guiding you toward a healthier rhythm. Your spirit knows when something aligns with who you are becoming. It also knows when something pulls you backward into old patterns. And in this new chapter, I invite you to listen more deeply to the subtle cues within you. When your body tightens, when your mind becomes noisy, when your heart feels heavy without explanation, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself gently, is this nourishing me or draining me? The answer will come, and your clarity will grow stronger with every moment you honor it. Let me also speak to the way you tend to relationships. Your heart is generous. You love deeply. You care with sincerity. But there have been times when you gave more than you received, when you poured into connections that had no capacity to pour back, when you stayed in conversations or dynamics that left you feeling unseen or misunderstood. In this season of alignment, I invite you to choose relationships that feel like rest, not strain. Relationships where you can breathe, where you can be honest, where your tenderness is not taken for granted. This does not mean cutting people off. It means recognizing where your spirit is watered and where it is depleted. It means allowing yourself to invest where there is mutual care. It means remembering that you deserve gentleness, understanding, and presence, not only from others, but also from yourself. Another alignment will unfold in how you manage your time. You have been stretched thin for too long, saying yes out of obligation, fear of disappointing others, or a sense of responsibility that outweighed your capacity. But your time is sacred, my child. It reflects your values. It shapes your inner world. When you commit to too much, your spirit becomes strained. So I invite you now to practice honoring your limits without guilt. A gentle no protects the river within you. A thoughtful yes nurtures it. Each decision becomes an act of alignment. Let me speak also of stillness. You do not need long hours of silence to feel connected. You simply need small pockets of presence woven into your day. A brief pause before you react. A quiet moment during a break. A deep breath before you speak. These small moments of returning inward strengthen your awareness and keep you anchored in peace. Stillness is not inactivity, it is recalibration. It is how you remind yourself that you are guided. And what of your inner dialogue? For too long, you have spoken to yourself with impatience, pressure, and criticism. You have measured yourself by how quickly you solved problems or how perfectly you performed. In this new alignment, I invite you to speak to yourself the way I speak to you, with gentleness, with patience, with compassion. Talk to yourself as a friend, not a judge. Treat your emotions as guests, not enemies. Treat your needs as valid, not inconvenient. You will also find alignment in the way you rest. True rest is not simply sleep. It is allowing your mind to soften, your shoulders to loosen, your spirit to quiet. It means choosing activities that nourish you rather than distract you. It means listening when your body says stop. It means honoring your cycles of energy. Rest becomes your way of saying, I trust the river. I trust the timing. I trust that I do not need to exhaust myself to be worthy. And finally, alignment shows itself in the way you return to peace after being pulled away from it. There will be days when stress rises, when emotions surge, when old patterns whisper to you again. Do not judge yourself for this. Simply return. Return to breathe. Return to awareness. Return to the gentle presence that never leaves you. Return to the truth that the river is still flowing, even when you momentarily forget. My child, alignment is not perfection. It is remembrance. It is living in sync with what nourishes your soul. It is choosing peace one small moment at a time. And as you walk in this way, the dryness that once defined your life will become a distant memory. The river within you will flow steadily, quietly, faithfully. You are learning to live replenished. You are learning to walk with ease. You are learning to honor your inner world. And in this alignment, you will discover that thirst no longer rules your days. My beloved child, you have journeyed with me through stillness, through honesty, through awakening, and through release. You have stood at the threshold, recognized the barriers, felt the river begin to flow, and learned how to walk in alignment with the peace rising within you. Now, in this sacred final movement, I invite you into the moment where everything you've received becomes your lived reality. This is the moment of choice, not pressured, not forced, but gently offered to your spirit like an open hand extended in love. Choice is powerful, my child. Choice reshapes the direction of your days. Choice turns awareness into transformation. Choice takes what you have felt and anchors it into who you are becoming. I do not demand this choice from you. I simply invite you to it, knowing that your heart is ready even if your mind still trembles. This choice is not about perfection. It is not about certainty. It is not about knowing every step ahead. It is simply about saying yes to the river, yes to the replenishment, yes to the peace that has waited patiently for you. You have lived thirsty for so long that part of you may not know how to live any other way. You have learned to brace yourself for scarcity, to prepare for disappointment, to expect dryness where nourishment was meant to be. But this moment, this sacred now, is an invitation to release the old identity formed by thirst and step into the one formed by fullness. My child, hear me. You are not defined by the deserts you survive. You are defined by the rivers that now rise within you. You are not defined by past patterns. You are defined by the choices you make from this moment forward. You stand here with me at the edge of abundance. Not abundance in material form, but abundance of peace, clarity, inner grounding, steadiness, presence, and purpose. And all that remains is your quiet, courageous yes. Not a loud yes. Not a dramatic yes. But the kind of yes that whispers from deep within you, I am ready for my life to feel different. So pause with me now. Place a hand on your own heart if it helps. Feel the softness growing inside you. Feel the calm settling over you. Feel the river moving through the places that once felt dry. And let your spirit speak. I choose the river. I choose peace. I choose alignment. I choose restoration. I choose to let my thirst in. This choice is not a single moment. It is a posture. It is a way of being. It is a daily returning, a daily remembering, a daily opening. And to help you anchor it deeply, I will guide you through declarations, words that, when spoken with sincerity, shape the inner landscape of your life. Speak them softly. Speak them slowly. Speak them from the truth rising within you. My heart is open to peace. I release the weight I was never meant to carry. I am worthy of rest, worthy of clarity, worthy of gentleness. I no longer live in the deserts of old seasons. The river within me flows freely. I choose nourishment over exhaustion. I allow myself to be guided instead of driven. I trust the wisdom rising within my spirit. I am safe to grow, safe to rest, safe to become. I walk in alignment with who I truly am. These declarations are not wishes. They are truths awakening. They are not demands. They are alignments. Each one becomes a seed planted in the soil of your soul, and those seeds will grow into the reality of your inner world. As you repeat them, you will begin to feel the shift. Your posture will soften. Your breath will deepen. Your perspective will widen. You will find yourself responding differently to situations that once overwhelmed you. You will find your boundaries strengthening with gentleness instead of guilt. You will find your spirit choosing peace even when chaos tries to call your name. You will find that you no longer cling to what drains you because your heart recognizes its own worth. This is the power of choice. This is the power of alignment. This is the power of stepping into the river. And in this final movement of your journey, know this: I am not standing behind you, pushing you forward. I am beside you, matching your pace. Each step you take, I take with you. Every moment you forget, I remind you. Every moment you drift, I guide you back. This journey is not about perfection. It is about presence. And my presence surrounds you, steady and unwavering. So as you stand here now, at the closing of this chapter and the opening of a new one, let your heart whisper one more truth. I choose to live full. I choose to let my thirst in. You are ready, my beloved. Ready to live nourished. Ready to live grounded. Ready to live aligned with the peace that has always been waiting for you. The river flows. The door is open. And the choice you make now shapes everything that comes after. My beloved child, come into this final quiet moment with me and let everything you have received settle softly inside you. You have walked through honesty, through release, through awakening, and through renewal. You have listened deeply, opened gently, and allowed the river within you to begin its steady flow. Now I wrap this journey in a seal of peace. Let this be the whisper that lingers long after the words fade. You are not returning to the dryness you once knew. You are not stepping backward. You are not losing the clarity you gained. The river that has opened in you is not temporary. It is a living source rising from within. A quiet reminder that you are held, guided, and replenished. Carry this truth into your days. You are free to breathe. You are free to soften. You are free to rest without guilt. You are free to walk in the calm that now belongs to you. And whenever you feel the old thirst trying to return, pause and remember the words I have spoken over you. Let them rise again like dawn within your chest. Let your thirst end. This is your seal. This is your reminder. This is the blessing that rests upon your path. Go gently, my child, with peace flowing through every step you take.